Hi guys, Tempest here. In this video we'll be checking cards that were region locked in H.A.T format, so in July of 2014. What region locking even means? So according to Konami, a card is only legal for play in one region if it has been released in a product that is available in that same region. While a very poor definition in itself, what it basically means is that if one set was only released in one region, other regions cannot play that set specific cards until a reprint set is released for other regions as well. So if you played Yu-Gi-Oh! At any time in the past, you would most likely know of these differences and how Konami gives priority to some regions but neglects others. There were always three regions in which Konami TCG operates, them being North America, then Latin America, and Europe, along with Oceania. Now, the latter region is officially called EMEA, which stands for Europe, Middle East, and Africa. The most famous examples where the meta was different from region to region, at least in regards to having access to different card pool, are Shonen Jump promotional cards, manga promotional cards as well. In 2015, for example, when Clifford was a top meta contender, players in North America had a very elegant extra deck solution to their boss monster, Clifford Towers, and that was number 52 Crab King. Then Crab King wasn't yet released in Europe and other parts that are not North America, so it was much harder to out previously mentioned 3000 attack unaffectable monster, and hence Clifford was a much better strategy in non-American territories just because of that fact alone. If we sort regions by how much support, events, and region-specific products are they received throughout Yu-Gi-Oh! History, North America is by far the most prioritized, followed by Europe and Oceania, or EMEA region, while Latin America was by far the most neglected. There are more differences in regards to region-specific treatment, such as rulings, top cut executions, policy strictness, etc. But in this video, we'll only be discussing region-locked cards of H.A.T format specifically. It is necessary to mention that since this isn't a well taken care of policy, so there were some big official tournaments in the past in which players easily enlisted with some not that well-known cards that weren't yet printed in that region. Whoever is in charge of checking deck lists at a given event would have to have a detailed list of cards that were not yet printed there. Since Konami never took care of such a document, one must take some time to find all such cards. And as we can see here, for about 10 years, this list has been almost identical, although cards such as Warrior of Tradition, for example, should not be legal to play in Europe, since its only print was in North American Tournament Pack second season, which was never released in Europe. We will briefly address the Latin American can of worms in regards to region-locked cards at the end of the video. So let's get to the list, which will be divided into three sections. Firstly, we'll cover the 5 cards that are written in Konami's online document about region-locked cards. Here we can see the 6th one as well, Gagaga Head, which wasn't yet released at all in 2014. This list used to be longer, but cards such as number S39, Utopia the Lightning, and White Aura Behemoth, for example. But all other cards got their reprints later. Second part will be other cards that are missing from Konami's list, but are still currently without a reprint. And all of them were only released in North American sets, being exactly from Tournament Pack second season. third part will be cards that were later reprinted, but in HAT format they weren't yet. I also have to mention that it is generally agreed that all region-locked cards are allowed at retro tournaments, at least in HAT format. So if you're to attend a format library tournament, you could play Stardust Spark Dragon and Night Express Knight in the same deck, although historically that wasn't really possible since one card was region locked and was only legal in Europe, while the other was only legal in North America. Starting alphabetically, we firstly have Judgment of Pharaoh, or Judgment of the Pharaoh, how it was called in its first and only print. This card even received a name change, but it wasn't yet reprinted with the correct name. A card that is still played in some gimmicky decks today because it locks your opponent out of summons and negates any monster effects, or it negates spell and trap effects and prevents your opponent from activating them for the turn, or both. So yeah, one print, or two if you want to get technical, for North America, and 0 for the rest of the world. Shiba-Warrior Taro, the only new card from Anniversary Pack, a set that only had 8 cards, 7 of them being altered artworks of some classic cards with Kazuki Takahashi's signature on them. Since 2008, he has yet to be reprinted for non-North American territories. So from Shonen Jump, we have the only not yet reprinted card, all the way from 2011. Troposphere has been on the Konami's region locked list for 15 years. All 5 of these cards are increasing in value from year to year because they are without a reprint. Next we have Unity and Yu-Joe Friendship, which are more meme cards than anything else, and are still without a reprint since 2006. With beautiful Headhuntress, we will now have a sequence of Tournament Pack second season cards, along with Tournament Pack third season and Tournament Pack 4. These 3 packs for tournament attendees were only released in North America. I checked before, and on Yu-Gi-Oh! Wikia it says Tournament Pack second season was also released in France, Germany and Italy, which is not correct. If that were true, beautiful Headhuntress's lowest offer on card market wouldn't be above 150 euros at the time of me making this video. And yeah, cards from Tournament Pack third season are mostly reprints of cards from Tournament Pack first season, which was released internationally. And Tournament Pack 4 has no new card printed in it. Let's get on. Let's move on. Dancing Elf, the only level 1 Wind Fairy normal monster, is only legal for North America. Dharma Cannon is the strongest level 2 Dark Machine normal monster, but North American players will have to satisfy with Bokoichi the Frightening card instead. Yeah, I have nothing positive to say about Dokurorider other than that he's driving a bike of sorts. Cool, I suppose. And yeah, he's without a reprint. Yeah, not much to say about Maiden of the Moonlight as well. In OCG it was printed in 4 different sets, in TCG only once and only for one region, that's why we're discussing it. Novox Sprayer is a ritual spell for School Guardian who received new support in TCG in 2024. They did not reprint School Guardian or Novox Sprayer, so we basically have a whole new archetype based on at least related to a card that isn't even legal in 4.5 continents. Queen of Autumn Leaves. is the strongest level 5 plant non-pendulum normal monster, if that means anything to anyone. It's still without a reprint. Revival of Dokurorider is the ritual spell to summon Dokurorider, of course. Its lowest price on card market at this time is 30 euros for played version. That's how pricey these cards are. School Guardian was the only monster with 2050 attack for the longest time until Gizmekiata, the Gleaming Vanguard, and School Guardian Protector of the Voiceless Voiced were released. Now it's just another cool looking monster who probably has issues doing everyday chores since it has sights for hands. Sky Dragon, he has the most defense out of both level 6 Dragon normal monsters. And yeah, he's the OG Sky Dragon. Sonic Maid is another $100 card from Tournament Pack second season. She has yet to receive a reprint for African, Oceanian, Middle Eastern, Latin American, and European audiences. Crow Goblin's baby brother, called Spirit of the Books, is another forgettable card that is without a reprint for 14 years now. Actually, my bad, 24 years now. Before Turu-Purun, there was Turu-Purun, the 5th strongest level 2 Aqua normal monster in the game. Anyway, it's without a reprint, although it received his new counterpart in 2024, who got its reprint the year later. North American GOAT format players' full fusion deck was consisting of 156 cards, but Europeans can only play with 253 of them. One copy of Warrior of Tradition is more expensive than the rest of just mentioned GOAT format fusion deck combined, because it's still without a reprint. Here we actually have 3 cards that players in USA and Canada weren't able to play. Not that they were competitively viable, but still. Right at the end of H.A.T format, Yu-Gi-Oh! Zexal World Duel Carnival was released, a game for Nintendo 3DS, and it was only released in Oceania and Europe, and it came with 3 cards, the first being Night Express Knight. North Americans had to wait for more than 2 full years for a reprint, so they could play this card in Trains deck. Same goes for Snowplow Hustle Rustle. This card would work great with artifacts until you read the last sentence. Special schedule is supposed to bring the two monsters from this set together, but all in all, none of them saw any play whatsoever. If you want to be historically accurate, it's best you play H.A.T format with North American cards, so without these 3, because surely more players would like to play with something like Stardust Spark Dragon, Nightmare Shark, and Vulcan than with these 3 just mentioned. And also that way you can play with North American rulings as well. Next up we have Anti-Raigeki, one of the few new prints from Tournament Pack 3rd season, and the only one who didn't receive a reprint in the next few years after it was printed in North America. Since Raigeki has been banned from 2004, this card is unplayable in any case. Anti-Raigeki was reprinted in Legendary Collection, Kaiba Mega Pack, along with Delinquent Duo, Whitehall, and Call of the Grave, among others. Archfiend Commander, a cool card for Archfiend deck, but it still wasn't played even in that. He was reprinted worldwide in 2014 Megatins. One tin had Archfiend Commander, the other number 47 Nightmare Shark, which we'll see later in the list. Blackwing, Grum the Shining Star, is something you would actually play in Blackwings sometimes. You would still play Ally of Justice Catastor before you play Gram, but maybe you can slot both of them in your extra deck. It was reprinted for the rest of the world when they started releasing such cards in special editions. The Dark Illusion Special Edition was released only in Latin America, Europe, and Oceania. It wasn't released in North America. So similarly, after Ultimaya Zolkin, Frightful Tiger, Beast Eyes Pendulum Dragon, number 23 Lancelot Dark Knight of the Underworld, Ibon Illusion Magician, Elemental Hero Core, number S39 Utopia the Lightning, Relinkuriboh, Dystopia the Despondent, number 22 Zombiestein, and Masked Hero Blast. It was finally time to reprint Kachi Kochi Dragon and number S0 Utopic Zexal. It could have maybe saw some very niche play in HAT format, but it didn't. In Legendary Collection Kaiba Mega Pack in 2018, they weirdly decided to print one rare monster out of all we mentioned before, and that was Mikazukinoyaiba. Did we miss him in HAT format? No. Did his reprint lower the price of the original print? Yeah, certainly. We already mentioned number 22 Zombiestein. North American players could sometimes play him in Dark World decks, but it really saw little to no play overall. He was reprinted in 2017 in Raging Tempest Special Edition. We also already mentioned number 47, Nightmare Shark, which is played in decks who can make rank 3s. Also, when Burning Abyss monsters were released, European players had to wait for 2 more weeks before they could slot this sometimes unfair win card in their decks. Number 72, Shogi Rook, is actually somewhat debatable if it's even legal in HAT format, but more often than not it's been established Yu-Gi-Oh! Zexal Volume 5 promotional card is the last legal set of the format. Hence, you could maybe fit in Shogi Rook in something like Spirits with Yamato no Kami or Hieratics. Europeans didn't really miss him, to be honest. It was only reprinted in 2023, and that print is still only worth 2 cents. So here we have certainly the most important card when discussing region-locked cards of HAT format, Stardust Spark Dragon. If you want to play European variant, you for sure can do that, but Stardust Spark Dragon only brings positive to the format, at least until people start playing Vanity's Emptiness en masse. He was reprinted 1 year later, just when Vanity's Emptiness started seeing more play. Takuhee was chosen as the short print reprint when they started reprinting old normal monsters in OTS tournament packs, and they chose him for the OTS tournament pack 2 in 2016. Vulcan the Divine is a card that only saw some play in Fire-Water format, mostly in stuff like Blackwings and Fire Fist. In 2013, he won the weekly Shonen Jump promotional card poll against Junk Puppet, Utopia Buster, and Archfiend Commander, so he was the first out of the 4 to get released, in North America at least. And just a few months later, he was also released for the rest of the world. Lastly, we have Water Magician, who was reprinted in OTS tournament pack short prints reprints. A weird choice, but now we have him in HAT format. Now we have him, and in HAT format we didn't. In the end, I'd just like to shortly discuss Latin American region-locked cards. Latin America has the loosest policies regarding what can and cannot be played. Sometimes you could play cards from sets like 2010's Duelist Revolution, and sometimes you couldn't. If we go by Duelist Revolution set, it was never printed in Latin American territories. This means that you were not able to play something like Effect Valor until 2014 or Scrap Archfiend until 2018. How strict they were about this is a different story entirely, but this is the main reason why, since OTS Tournament Pack 7, so for 8 years now, in every OTS, Konami is printing 10 or so cards just in Portuguese, as we can see here, for example, OTS 10. These are supposed to be cards that were not yet legal in Latin America. Very bizarre modus operandi for Konami, as we're used to. What I just described essentially means that something like Scrap Archfiend is legal there, because it was printed in OTS Tournament Pack 9. But something like Dash Warrior from the same set, Duelist Revolution, isn't legal because it was never printed in Portuguese. So anyway, that's all from me for this video. I hope somebody may find some useful information in this, and I hope you have a nice week. Thanks for watching.